Welcome to Keys, Closings, and Conversations, the podcast where we help you make smarter real estate decisions, whether you're looking to buy your first home, move up, downsize, invest, or if you're preparing to sell. I'm your host, Keith Calabro, mortgage loan officer with over 20 years experience helping individuals and families navigate the home financing process. Each episode, we feature top real estate professionals or financial professionals sharing practical advice, local market insights, and strategies to help you buy, sell, and invest with confidence. Let's get started.
All right. So welcome to the show. Today's guest is Lisette Villano. Lisette is a highly respected real estate professional with Brokerage, serving Rhode Island and Massachusetts areas. Lisette, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you on. We're excited to learn a little bit more about you, your business. And today we're actually going to be discussing a little bit about what's happening in today's market. Whether buyers should buy now or wait. We'll talk a little bit about strategies for winning in a competitive market as well. We'll talk a little bit too about sellers looking to maximize their sales value, and then some local opportunities that buyers and investors should be paying attention to in today's market. All right. So Lisette, tell the listeners a little bit about your background, how long you've been in real estate, why you got into real estate, and just a little bit about your story.
Yeah, so I've been in real estate for almost 9 years now. My background is in biology, so I went to school, graduated with a degree, and I used that degree for about a year before I moved to Rhode Island and got licensed. And the main reason was because I was still commuting to work in Boston. So that would take me over 2 hours to get to every single morning. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So I like the flexibility and things like that. So I got licensed and I've been involved in the industry in some shape, way, or form, whether that's helping people buy or sell or even transaction coordination work. I had 2 babies within that time. So that's when the transaction coordination work started to become more prevalent. And then now that they're a little older, I'm back and helping people buy and sell and invest.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. So let's talk a little bit about who you help. So who do you help in today's market? What type of clientele do you work?
I think naturally I attract a lot of first-time home buyers, particularly with my background. There's a lot of teaching and breaking down things to the point that you need to understand them. And there's a saying in science where they say, if you can't break it down where a third grader can understand it, then you don't understand the concept yourself. And so I think that background has really helped me, particularly with first-time home buyers. And I think that's why I naturally attract them. And I think there's also a smaller subset of clients that I've worked with, and those are the ones that like to buy fixer-uppers. And that, for me personally, that is the strategy that I've used to get into real estate and be able to invest. And so I absolutely love helping those people as well, kind of helping them see the vision of, well, maybe you can do this. And then also the fact that you're building equity while you're doing this too is something that I really, really like to talk about with my clients. So I would say those are the main 2 that I help or where I thrive in.
Excellent. And I know you're licensed in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, and Rhode Island's small, so you practically cover the whole state. What areas of Massachusetts do you cover as well?
So I can go as far as Worcester and then up as far as Boston, maybe a little further north than that, and then anything in between.
Excellent. And then I know, there's a lot of agents out there. Tell the listeners a little bit about what makes your approach different than some of the other agents that they'll meet out there.
I think I have social media down to the point where a lot of my business is starting to come from that. My social media is not real estate heavy, and I think that's what makes it stand out. Maybe about 10% of my content is real estate related. I want to make sure that people do see that I am knowledgeable and I know what I'm talking about, but also people don't go on Instagram to learn about 3 tips of first-time home buyers or anything like that. I think highlighting and really showing why the place that you are selling in is the place to be. A lot of people really are attracted to that. And I've been able to have a lot of conversations about, even though the majority of the content itself is not real estate related, people tend to like and trust me more because I'm showing more that there's more to me than just the real estate side.
Right.
And ultimately, if people do not trust and like you, they're not going to want to work with you. So you want to make sure that
Right.
you hit that first, the like and the trust
Mhm.
part first before you start to
Right.
sell to anybody. And that is applicable through sales as a whole, not just real
Yeah.
estate. So that's my
Yeah.
approach is,
Absolutely.
okay, I need you to I want to show you who I am as a person, and then do we vibe? And if we vibe, then I think we'll work really well together. And then that's how the conversation then starts to turn into the real estate side of things.
Yeah, that's awesome because, it makes you relatable, right? And then people watch your content. You might not have even spoken to them, but they already feel like they know you. So that
Mm.
definitely helps out for sure.
Absolutely.
All
And
right.
that's what people want to see too. I think
Right.
a lot of realtors in general kind of get caught up on, I just have to do all real estate stuff. And yes, that's important. But, ultimately, who are you and what are you into? And do you relate to that client? And if so, then
Right.
that's a really good working relationship to start.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So let's get into a little bit about some buyers in today's market. I think one of the most heavily searched things on the internet or chat GPT right now is should I buy or wait? Right. So what are you
Mhm.
telling your prospective clients when they ask that question?
I first ask them, what is your goal? I think that if you're looking to buy a multifamily and you're competing with so many people, you're going to be paying a lot more. And ultimately, in order
Mhm.
for, if you're doing it for an investment, and the numbers need to work, right? And
Right.
because we have such a small inventory, particularly of multifamilies, I might tell somebody kind of either buy something that needs a little bit of work so you can still get into it, but not paying an arm and a leg. And then
Mhm.
if your goal is to just put roots down and be somewhere for a long time, then the rates and things like that don't really matter too much, just because you plan on staying in that spot for an extended period of time. So that becomes less important over time versus, I need to cash flow on something right now. How am I
Right.
going to make
Right.
it work? And the price can definitely play a big role in that. So I would first ask them, what is your goal? And then take it from there. Like, okay, maybe it is a good time for you to buy in this scenario, and then maybe not so much in this scenario.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I think just understanding your client, knowing what their goals are, not only short term, but long term, really unpackages a
Mm.
lot of that as well. And you do see a lot of people looking to house hack at this point now, too, where, if affordability is an issue, they can get a 2 or 3 family and they can live in one and rent out one of the other 2 units to really help supplement, their income and that mortgage payment as well.
Exactly.
All right. So tell us, a little bit of some advice. So if you were speaking with someone looking to buy in the next 6 months, what advice would you give them right now?
Connect with someone that you trust. I know the majority of the time, realtors tend to be that first point of contact. So find a realtor that you know and trust, and have the
Mhm.
conversation, even though you're not ready right now. A lot of us are always willing to sit and have a conversation, just to give you the information, because ultimately our job is not to convince you to buy something or sell. Our job is to give you all of the information so you can make an
Mhm.
educated decision.
Right.
So
Yep.
once you find
Absolutely.
that person that you trust and you like, then you can kind of say, okay, I have all of that information on the table. Is this really a good time for me, or is it not? Based
Right.
off of the specific circumstances that person is experiencing.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to lead with education myself. I think knowledge is power. The more information you know, and the more you understand, the better decision that you're going to be able to make for you and your family for sure.
Exactly.
All right. So some people are waiting to buy, right? So if people are like, all right, I'm going to wait 12 months, what would you say to that?
Something to keep in mind is that prices are going to continue to rise. It's not going to be like COVID times where prices kind of just exploded, but they will continue to go up over time,
Mhm.
much slower than the COVID times, but still go up.
Right.
And
Right.
then also keep in mind too that depending on rates and things like that, there's also a lot of other people waiting for rates to come down, which means
Right.
you're going to compete with our people as well. And so I always tell people in this scenario, like, let's kind of work it backwards. Where are you comfortable paying every single month? Are you comfortable
Right.
paying $2,000, 2,500, whatever that number is? Reverse engineer it and see if you can actually find something within that price point. So that way you are still building your equity and you own something, and then you're also comfortable financially every single month where you can balance your monthly payment and not be house broke.
Right. Exactly. That's really good advice. And we've both seen markets where, there's 15, 20 people bidding on the same house too, right? So, and we are not in that level of competition, but once we stop seeing rates continue to drop more significantly, right? It's the whole supply and demand thing, right? And there's going to be a lot more activity on properties as well. But yeah, that's some excellent advice. What would you say the biggest mistake buyers are making right now in 2026, if you had to kind of narrow that down to a thing or two?
I would say that they count themselves out before fully knowing whether or not they're able to buy something. I just had this conversation with someone where they're like, I thought I had to put 20% down or I had to find $100,000 to buy a house. And that person is buying with very little money, if not at maybe actually zero money at closing. So, definitely sit with people that do this every single day and not just go off of the bits and pieces of information that you have, and really get to
Mhm.
know, get to know the entire process of what it takes, and then make a decision from there, because there's a lot of things that most people don't know, or it's not as easily accessible. Um,
Right.
and, it's those things that tend to make the difference for these people. So don't say, well, my credit is bad, so I can't buy anything, or
Right.
I just can't afford to buy anything. We don't know that. Sit with people
Right.
that do this every single day and let them tell you, okay, these are your options actually. And a lot more times than not, people find out like, oh wait, I can actually do this. And
Right.
it took one conversation. It took one
Yeah.
conversation to kind of put that on its head, right? So I would say that's the biggest mistake that buyers are making right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, everybody's reading on the internet, and there's a lot of people are thinking, I can't buy, I can't afford to buy. It still boggles my mind that so many people think that you need 20% down, where we do plenty of loans with 3.5% down, 3% down, down payment assistance through the state of Rhode Island and Massachusetts. There's so much available out there that, you can find a lot on the internet, but it's so much better when you're speaking to real estate professionals who do this for a living. They know exactly what's out there and can really kind of guide you to look at all the options. And that kind of goes back to the education, piece that we talked a little bit about before. So, yeah, that speaking with someone is really, and kind of getting a little bit granular and, uncovering what's out there is really going to put you in the best position to make a good decision.
Right, exactly. And something I would add to that too is I think a lot of people are fearful that they're going to be pushed into making a decision. And I want to tell buyers right now, if you feel that, find somebody else. There are people out there that just truly want to share information and help you.
Right.
And if you feel that push or anything like that, find somebody else.
Yeah. Indeed.
People, we as realtors, as loan officers, should not be trying to convince people to
Right.
make this decision. It's just, like you said, sharing information, knowledge is what's going to move the needle at the end of the day. And there's no need for it.
Right, exactly. You don't want to feel pressured into something. Nobody wants to feel pressured into something. You want to make sure that, you're understanding the process, you're know exactly what you're getting yourself into. On the mortgage side, the last thing we want is for you sweating the mortgage payment every month, right? You want to make sure that you're making a financially smart decision for yourself to where you're building roots, you're gaining equity in your home, but at the same time, you're not
Or
living for your house, right? You still want to go out, you still want to enjoy life and everything that comes with it too. So yeah, that's smart. That's great advice. All right. So sticking with buyers, what's actually winning in today's market?
what's winning in today's market? That's a really good question. I think it depends on on a couple of things. I think being willing to work with the other side, the other party, and
Okay.
being flexible in that way. I think
Mm.
once everybody has this collaborative mindset of, okay, what works for you, what works for them, I think the likelihood of coming together is very high. I don't think playing this hardball aggressive type of approach, I don't think that works very well. and just being open-minded to hearing, okay, like this house has multiple offers on it. I know you can't do this, but have you considered doing this to strengthen your offer? So I would also say being open-minded to some
Yeah.
creative ideas to try to strengthen any offer in a multiple offer situation. Um, and then obviously, yeah, just being open-minded and collaborative across the board with everyone else, I
Right.
think makes things so much easier, so much smoother and less stressful.
Hmm.
So yeah, those are the two things I would say is what's important to keep in
Yeah,
mind.
for sure, for sure. Are you seeing bidding wars? Are bidding wars still happening locally?
So it depends. We're not seeing bidding wars like in COVID where everything and anything went 100K over
Hmm.
asking. Houses that are overpriced are starting to sit a little longer, but we are still seeing multiple offers on properties that are priced really well to begin with. So Rhode Island has really taken that shift where, yeah, depending on the house, depending, on the price point, we're seeing a lot of activity. And then there's also houses that have been sitting because they've been overpriced 5-10%.
And then what would you say, maybe one strategy that buyers don't know right now? Is there something that you can give our listeners, a strategy that they may not be aware of that might be working right now as well?
A strategy for buyers, you mean?
Right. So any sort of strategy for buyers that might be working right now. So, maybe bid over asking or asking for some sort of seller concessions to cover costs. Are there any strategies that you've been implementing that's been, helping with affordability or helping with, getting offers accepted?
Yes. So the main thing that I find myself tapping into with buyers is telling them, "Hey, let's look at houses that are just above your budget." And let's make sure that
Hmm.
these houses have been sitting for at least 30 days. Because what I see is that there are still a lot of houses, although they're sitting, they're really good houses. They have good bones, they're not falling apart, they're just overpriced. And
Hmm.
so I've been finding using that strategy really, really helpful because if you stay within the confines of your price, that sometimes doesn't work. But if you're going maybe 15-20,000 over and then see how long those good houses have been sitting, I find that the likelihood of the seller wanting to negotiate and, getting closing costs covered and even lowering the price down, tends to work really well.
Right. Excellent. So, a lot of people get pre-approved out shopping for a house. It's not the easiest thing to get your offer accepted. What are sellers really looking for in an offer? Like what moves the needle for buyers, for their offers to get accepted?
Yeah, I think that's very specific to the seller. So, kind of, this is what I do is I reach out to the listing agent and I'm like, hey, other than the price, we know that's important already.
Mhm.
Anything outside of the price that the seller would appreciate in an offer. And then based off of what they say, then kind of craft the offer to that because it shows that one, you're listening and two, you're willing to be collaborative. And also it makes you kind of stand out some more too, instead of just submitting an offer like, here you go, and not having a conversation or building rapport, reaching out to the listing agent and saying, hey, I want to submit an offer. I just wanted to check in, really want to make this offer attractive to your sellers. What is something what's important to them? And then communicating that to the buyer. And then sometimes that doesn't always line up. So,
Mhm.
using other things that you can strengthen in that offer to kind of still send the same message of, hey, I still want to work with you, but I can't
Right.
go up on price much, but I'm willing to shorten my inspection period, for example, or do inspections for info
Mhm.
purposes only. So
Right.
yeah, definitely trying to understand the other side and what they need and try to meet them in the middle.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. All right. So let's shift over to sellers. So would you still consider this a seller's market? Is it a good time to sell right now in your area?
Yeah, I think we still have very low inventory in Rhode Island. And if you're priced well, you're going to make out really well as a seller. You're going to get over asking.
Mhm.
Just focus on the purchase, focus on the price based off of your home and the comps, and
Mhm.
you'll be all set. I actually had a listing that went under contract sight unseen and it went over asking
Mhm. Wow.
and waived inspections and everything like that, but that was because it was priced well to begin with.
Mhm.
So yeah, definitely keep in mind that if you think your home is priced is worth a certain amount and your
Mm.
agent is saying, I think it's actually worth this, just know that we're not trying to be difficult with you.
Right.
We want you to get the result that you're looking for in the least amount of time. And
Right.
overpricing is just going to extend the amount of time that it's going to take. And quite frankly, I would love to list your house at 500 versus 450, but the comps don't support it, right? So, like,
Mm.
I think that's a really good sign if there's an agent that's telling you, like, hey, it's actually worth this. I think that is a really clear sign that we have your best interest in mind and we're not just trying to
Mm.
get paid for something or something like that, because the higher the price, the higher the commission,
Mhm.
right? So,
Right.
if you
Right.
see that we're sitting here, your house is worth 450. This is why. Like, we're not trying to be difficult. We're trying to get
Right.
you what you need in a reasonable amount of time with the least amount
Right.
of stress. Because I guarantee you that if your house is sitting for 2 months, that's going to be very stressful for you. We don't want
Right.
that.
Right. Right. Exactly. And then we've seen, many instances where the house is priced right. It's just going to attract more people, and more people bidding on the house raises the total amount that you're actually going to be able to sell your house for. Um, and then
Right.
you still have the appraisal issue too, right? If they're thinking their home is worth 475 and it's only 450, and it, they accept the 475 offer and the bank only appraises it for 450, then that's a whole nother can of worms you have to open up with the seller as well.
Exactly. Right. And that's a conversation that we need to have up front as well. Like, um,
Mhm.
like, I understand what you're saying, I do think we're going to run into an appraisal issue. And
Mhm.
if I'm foreseeing this, I'm trying to be proactive and avoiding
Mm.
that even being a conversation later down the line. I think
Right.
it's the best bet to list here versus here. So it's very important to kind of, again, the knowledge aspect of things,
Mhm.
sharing the knowledge, making sure, like, this is my thought process behind pricing your home. We want to avoid the appraisal issue. We want to avoid sitting on the market, and we can do that just by agreeing on a number.
Right. Right. Exactly. And when it comes to pricing your home, like what's actually getting top dollar in today's market?
What's getting top dollar in today's market, I would say a home that is in good condition and is presented well on, whether that's social media and the listing photos and things like that. And then just making sure that you're not overpriced. I think that's kind of the main driver is,
Right.
being within the comps of your area is going to, or even a little bit below that. I think if you're going maybe 2-3% below, I think that increases the chances of getting kind of like an auction-like environment and getting those multiple offers. So, definitely putting that strategy into play too.
Mhm.
Um, I witnessed that this past weekend. I went out with the buyer and the house was listed at 350 and there was a million people there. Not literally a million, but you know what I mean? There was a ton of people there. It was
Right.
hard to find
Right.
parking and things like that, but that's because it was
Right.
priced at such a competitive number that everyone's like, I have to see this house. I want to submit an offer
Mhm.
on this, right? So,
Right.
yeah, definitely pricing. First and foremost is price, and then everything else kind of falls into place with that.
Right. So the homes that are out there sitting longer, I'm sure that makes sellers nervous, but you probably pin that down to either condition or price point, what they price it at then, right?
Correct. But with the buyers that I work with, it's really overpricing. The buyers that I want to work with, well, that I work with are first time home buyers, so these houses need to
Mhm.
be livable. Unless you're going the 203K
Right.
way. These are just
Mhm.
traditional FHA buyers, so we need to make sure that these houses are livable in the condition that they are. They just might be,
Right.
there might be some red carpet that you're gonna have to rip up at some point, but that's fine, right? You can still live in a house
Right.
with red carpet, like my house right
Right.
now.
Mhm.
Um, just making sure overall the condition is good, and
Mhm.
that tends to work well.
Yeah, absolutely. And was that mentioned 203K for listeners who don't know, 203K is a rehab loan. So you can actually purchase a home and get money for repairs at the same time. If you're looking to purchase a home and the inside still looks like 1976, then you can certainly, get the money to rehab that as well. As far as mistakes go with sellers, what would you say the biggest mistake sellers are making right now in today's market? Is it pricing or is there anything else?
Yeah, the pricing, thinking that we're still in the 2003 COVID era where everything and anything
Yeah.
moved. It doesn't matter what it was, where it was, how it looked, it moved no matter what, over asking. It was almost a guarantee. And we're not seeing that anymore. Buyers are starting to kind of step
Mhm.
back and say, like, I don't know if I want to go 50,000 over asking on a
Mm.
house that only has half of the things that I'm looking for.
Right.
So I
Right.
think buyers are kind of stepping back and saying, okay, this is my list. These are my non-negotiables. I'm sticking with this. And if this house doesn't meet
Mhm.
it, then I'm going to move on.
Right.
And particularly especially if it's overpriced, right? I think that sellers, we have to remember that we are in a totally different time now. Like
Mhm.
I said, we are still seeing multiple offers. It's just in a very specific condition. It's not just,
Right.
I'm going to put a sign out front and it's sold. It's not
Right.
like that anymore.
Not like
We
that
need to
anymore.
have a little
Absolutely.
bit more strategy behind the pricing now and behind the
Right.
marketing and all that other stuff. So it takes a little more
Right.
effort now on the seller side to stand out.
Mhm. Right. All right. So let's talk about some different areas. So, what would you say are some of the hottest towns or cities right now in the area?
I'm seeing the Darlington area of Pawtucket, very, very popular.
Mhm.
There's certain areas in North Providence that I'm seeing. There's a lot of turnover I'm noticing in certain
Mhm.
areas of North Providence. Just in my neighborhood in the last 30 days, I've seen 4 houses within a quarter mile any direction go up and under
Okay.
contract and gone. So there's a lot of turnover here in this neighborhood of North Providence, and I think those would be the top 2 that I can think of from the top of my head right now. And Warwick as well. That tends to have a lot of,
Right.
of movement, so that's very popular too.
All right. So for buyers out there looking, any maybe underrated or up and coming areas that might pop at some point?
Oh my God, that's a good question.
Hmm.
Definitely look into Cranston. I would say there's a lot of good areas there that's like really nice to move into. The neighborhoods are really good. The schools are really good. I would say definitely consider Cranston.
Mhm.
Can't think of anything else. That's a good. You got me stuck on that one.
How about where are some areas that buyers are getting maybe the most value? So when it comes to home appreciation, we did just talk a little bit about some hot areas, but are there any towns or cities in either Rhode Island or southeastern Massachusetts that, buyers can get in at a good price point and, are seeing quite a bit of appreciation in their property value in relatively short period of time?
Yeah, the neighborhood that I live in North Providence, there's, like I said, a lot of turnover, and a lot of these properties, although they're in really good condition, they're outdated. And that
Mhm.
is literally the game when it comes down to creating equity, right? Buy something that you can improve and make it look better. And that automatically puts you on the path of equity right away.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of that here. And like my house right now was one of those houses. And like I said, I still have red
Mhm.
carpet that I have to go change, but, um,
Right.
definitely looking for areas that have that high turnover where the houses are really, have really good bones,
Right.
but can use, a modern touch or something like that. And I don't
Mhm.
think that's specific to the neighborhood. I think that's just specific to houses in general, no matter where you are.
Right. Right. Exactly. All right, cool. So let's do a couple rapid fire questions. I got 5 rapid fire questions for you. Quick response, doesn't have to be long and drawn out. So, number 1, buy or rent.
Buy immediately.
Right. Fixer upper or move in ready. Best advice for a first time home buyer.
That's advice for first-time homebuyer?
Yes.
Yes, sit down with a professional before you make the decision or count yourself out.
Yes. One mistake to avoid when selling.
Do not overprice.
I'm sorry, I lost you. I'm just going to do that one again. One mistake to avoid when
Yeah,
selling.
don't overprice.
And if you had to buy today, what would you do?
Buy the fixer-upper. Goes back to the first one. Go buy it's gonna be annoying. It's probably not gonna be visually appealing, but it will get there. Buy the fixer-upper.
Right. All right. So tell the listeners a little bit about a recent deal where, the strategy you put together for them made the difference.
Made a difference. So I used the approach of finding a house that was a little over their budget and was able to kind of bring it down to where it was manageable for them. And I was also able to negotiate closing costs for this person and still do inspections completely just without, not like informational purposes only or anything like that, but the full opportunity to further negotiate repairs and things like that.
Mhm.
The house has been sitting. It was sitting for 30 plus days. I think it was 35 days or something like that.
Okay.
And they've had multiple open houses at that point. So I said, hey, I know this is a little over your budget, but I think there's an opportunity here to negotiate. And we
Mhm.
submitted the offer and they came back and accepted it right away. They didn't even counter. So I found that to be a win because it was in the area that they wanted and they had already been beat out a couple of times, competing with
Uh-huh.
other buyers. So
Right.
ultimately, financially, they are over the moon, and they're like, okay, like
Right.
I don't have to bring too much to closing, and I
Right.
get the house that I wanted, and it's in excellent condition. It's a beautiful house. It was just sitting
Right.
for a little bit. So
Right.
that was a strategy that was applied in real time, and it worked. So
Perfect.
I'm happy
Perfect.
that they got what they wanted.
So, all right. So let's tell the listeners the best way to reach you.
So Instagram, I'm most active on. That you can find me at real_Lisette. Same on TikTok. I'm not as active on there, but you can still find me there.
All right. Perfect. Well, thanks everyone for joining us on another episode of Keys, Closings, and Conversations. Special thanks to Lisette Villano for sharing her expertise and her insights today. Be sure to check the show notes for her social media profiles and ways to connect with her as well. And if you're considering buying, selling, or investing, please reach out to, so I'm going to do that one more time. If you're considering buying,
Mhm.
selling, or investing, please reach out to one of us for some guidance. We'd be happy to help. And we'll see you on the next episode.
If you're considering buying, selling, or investing in real estate and would like guidance on your financing options, feel free to reach out. I'm Keith Calabro, mortgage loan officer, military veteran, VA loan specialist with over 20 years of experience helping clients navigate the home purchase process. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with someone you think that could benefit from today's conversation. We'll see you next time on Keys, Closings, and Conversations. And remember, the keys open the door, the closing gets it done, but the conversations are what make great decisions possible. We'll see you next time.